Hello, I'm Lauren Green and welcome to A Spirited Debate. Paris is still feeling the aftershocks of the Charlie Hebdo shootings. But the attack by Islamic extremists has jolted many European leaders as they realize they are more vulnerable to homegrown terror than they once thought. But European leaders have begun working together with Saudi leaders and the Holy See to fight back. Here to explain is Josef Hochtl, former member of the Austrian parliament. Welcome to you, Joseph.
Hello, Lauren.
I just want your, how are European sort of leaders reacting, and Europeans in general reacting to sort of this rise in Islamic terrorism within their own countries?
Of course, it was a tragic way how those attacks were done and the effects of that. And it has, of course, various effects. And we try to cooperate in the sense that we want not only to defend ourselves concerning the lives of the population of the various countries, but as well how to act to prevent those things in the future. And one thing is the disaster in Paris, for instance, had an enormous impact on how Islam in general is considered now in our European countries. For instance, in front of me there is the latest survey from the Austrian population. And there are only 11% anymore who say that Islam is compatible with the Western ideas of democracy, freedom and tolerance. I mean, this is a disaster in that sense. On the other hand, all the leaders in Europe say we have to differentiate between those terrorists on one hand and the overwhelming majority of the Muslims who don't believe that this is the right way to fight for their religion.
That's a very interesting kind of survey you're saying. The people are saying, Islam is not compatible with Western democracy, but the leaders are saying that Islam is a peaceful religion, and we've got to, separate the extremists from, the everyday Muslim. Is that what you're saying?
That means, yes, we as the leaders do have to have a close cooperation with all those leaders in the countries where the Islam is the dominating religion to fight those terrorists. Because, we have to say as well, in all those countries there are 99% of people killed who are as well members of the Islamic religion. So, we have to say that. And I met here in Washington a lot of people who say, that's a horrible misuse of their religion. So it has to be a combined way of fighting terrorism on one hand, and on the other hand, to educate all those younger people in the Western countries who belong to the Islamic religion that this is not the way how a cooperation and a common living in our countries is possible.
Yeah, very interesting survey. It said, in 1970, the percentage of Muslims in Austria, we should say, was 0.2%, and today it's more than 6% Muslim. Is there a concern with the growing number of Muslims that are coming into your country as well as Europe?
Of course, within the population of Austria, this is a drastic change of the structure of all those who belong to any religion. In Austria, the dominating force of the religious groups is the Catholics, with about 62%, but I would say this is a new number. 6% are already Muslims, and this 6% means that the Muslims is now the second largest or biggest group of all religions in Austria, and therefore there are as well some extremists. For instance, I'll tell you a new number. There are between 160 and 170 young people belonging to the Muslim groups who really were ready to go to Syria and to fight together with the IS that horrible battle there.
So this is a very big concern. I mean, how afraid are Europeans in terms of extremists taking out any kind of aggression and violence in their country, especially Austria? We don't hear about Austria. We've heard about Paris, we've heard about Germany, we've heard about England, but not Austria so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a high percentage we have, you know. I mean, 6% is more probably than a lot of other European countries because, I mean, we are attractive from the standpoint that the working force is needed in Austria, and we are always ready to take those persons who are refugees. But of course, if some parents are not responsible for the education of their children, they might tend to some extremist way, and this is the danger we face.
I want to give you one last chance to talk about the Vienna Declaration, which was made obviously before the Charlie Hebdo shootings. But what is the Vienna Declaration? What does this aim to do?
The Vienna Declaration is the result of a months-long way of finding a common standpoint to cooperate between the various religious groups. The KICIT, it's King Abdullah Center for Interreligious and Intercultural Dialogue, which is centered in Vienna, has the intention that we should concentrate on the common basis of the religion groups and not more or less intensify the differences. And this declaration was more or less the result of such a think tank work of all those leaders. I mean, we have to see in that group are not only Catholics, Protestants, Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, etc., but as well, for instance, the Vatican itself represented, and this is a new way of doing it. Of course, now it has to be re-evaluated because Abdullah died, King Abdullah, and you never know how the next step of his successor will be. So we try now to find a new way, to find an extended way, to get new members in that whole KICIT project, and as well, of course, to have direct activities as well in countries where the Islam is the dominating religion, and not only in Austria.
All right, I want to thank you so much, Josef Hochtl, former member of the Austrian Parliament. We obviously have not heard the last of this. I want to thank you so much for being on A Spirited Debate. Thank you so much.
Okay, it's a pleasure for me.